latest case out of Vinton County tonight. 16 children rescued from a house in Hamden. 4 adults are facing 16 counts each of endangering children, including their mother, 33-year-old Elizabeth Siders.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Psychology Eats. So what's eating you? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the channel. I hope this video finds you in great mental health. I hope everything is going well for you and life is giving you everything that you work for. Ooh, I didn't really, oh my God. Covering this story it's frustrating. It's really frustrating to even cover this story. And in 2026, that children can be living in conditions like this and no one knew, or no one rescued them, or no one, there weren't even attempts or calls made to children and youth for many years that no one, they literally disappeared. The family disappeared. But did they really disappear? Absolutely not. So real quick, you probably already know when you clicked on the video. If not, I'm going to update you. A couple, Gary and Elizabeth Siders. Gary is 36. Elizabeth is 33. They together had 18 children. She started with her first baby at 15. 2 of the children passed away. They were born conjoined, and so they did not make it. And so when the police raided the house, there were 16 children, living children, in the home. The parents of Gary also lived in the house. They lived there also. They're elderly, but in their 70s. They're not that old. They also lived in the house. So the ages of the kids range from 18 months to 18 years. And the kids, from what it sounds like from the authorities who went in there, they described the kids as almost feral animals, like cats that you find out running around in the woods that never, been touched or hugged. That is the way they found the children. They were in one room of the house. The house is, according to the police, very disgusting. They said the smell, the one police officer said he can still smell it days later. The house reeked of feces and urine. And where the children were kept, it was feces and urine, debris, dirt, just horrible, horrific. That these kids were left in a home like that. And so, of course, the police were actually called out to the home because Gary, the father, was doing some weird shit on his front porch, exposing himself. And that is what prompted the police to be called. I guess people driving by. I don't know the details of that, but that is what prompted them. But we have to look at where was the ball, like what happened. And so Gary, it doesn't work. Elizabeth didn't work. The 2 elders didn't work. And so how were they getting food? How were they paying for things? So the assumption, the elders got Social Security benefits. Okay, that was that money. But then how were they paying for 16 children? According to a few news reports, that they were receiving government assistance. They were receiving food stamps. And with 16 children on your food stamp application, I'm sure they were racking in at least a couple of thousands of dollars every month for food stamps. And when they went to do their recertification, food stamps doesn't ask you, welfare doesn't say bring the kids down here so we can make sure you still have kids. But I think as a result of this situation, I think that needs to be implemented. If you're getting, if you're getting benefits for children, then those children need to make an appearance, maybe down at the welfare office. If I know back in the day, I believe that used to happen. I'm not sure about now because, you can apply for benefits right online and upload birth certificates or whatever they ask for. But no one from the Department of Welfare, basically ever saw the kids, I guess. I mean, there was no record of them saying, yes, we saw the kids. Okay, ball drop there. Where else? The hospital. They lived in a small community. And so she was most likely using the same hospital to give birth to these children. Nurses and doctors, y'all nosy about everything else. Other, women coming in with a little bit of liquor on their breath and you calling children and youth. I think after someone comes in and has, after the 10th birth, I think it should just be a call out just to a wellness. Like, you know what? Mom just came in. She just had a baby 9 months ago. She's back. She's just had 2 more babies. I think you might want to go and make sure everything is straight. Why wasn't a social worker called into mom's room when she had the 15th baby to make sure she was straight? If that happened, I don't know how a credible social worker would not be able to ask those kind of questions that would lead you to understand that this mom is under some sort of distress. Not to mention, she had to stink. She coming into the hospital, and this is no disrespect. This is I'm just keeping it real. You living in a house that's funky, disgusting, dirty. You can't tell me she didn't show up at the hospital stinking. And based on that, somebody should have called them people. Like, mom is disheveled, she's dirty, dad's dirty, everybody stinks. Like, that is an indication that, like, maybe they don't have water in the house. I mean, as a mental health provider myself, and I work with many, many, many people doing therapy, family therapy, individual therapy, community-based therapy. I've been in some houses that, yeah, they stink. They had stuff going on. Sometimes I would find out they didn't have water, and then I would, try to work through that. Let me, contact the water department, stuff like that. Nobody did that at the hospital level. Okay, let's how the school dropped it. So apparently at some time in their life, some of the older kids went to school. And then the mom and dad came in, took the kids out of school, probably because the kids came in smelling. The kids came in unkept. The kids came in, so far behind academically that now, the school might have been like, can I help you? What can we do? Asking way too many questions. And so they pulled the kids from school, never put them in another school. The ball was dropped then. Their home school should have been waiting to get a message from the new school for the records. And so when they never got an inquiry about new records or sending their old records to the new school, that should have been a red flag. The school system should have sent that to, give parents, let's say 6 months. If I don't get an inquiry, if homeschool, doesn't get an inquiry about a new school, then they should, after 6 months, contact Children and Youth and say, we never got an inquiry about a new school. Please investigate, where are these kids? What is going on with these kids? The ball was dropped again. Now, you neighbors. The neighbor said, we ain't seen nothing. We ain't know nothing. Let me tell you something. I don't even talk to my neighbors. And I live in a very nice neighborhood. I don't talk to these folks. And they don't talk to me like that. I know enough of their business, not even talking to them, to know who up in that house, to know if something ain't right. If that car ain't moved in a couple of days, what's going on with what's happening? So the neighbors, you didn't bother to go over there. Y'all nosy. People are nosy. When they moved in, let me tell you something. She had to have kids in there about 11, 12, 13 years old. They wasn't peeking out the window. Well, they said the kids were so disabled and just, they haven't shown us pictures of the kids. I think if America saw the pictures of the kids, some of y'all would pass out. Elizabeth's the mama, her brother did put on his Facebook page that his sister had been psychologically controlled and indoctrinated by this horrific family. And so the narrative that Elizabeth's state-approved attorney is trying to put out there is that Elizabeth, was a victim. She was a victim, and this is what happens to happen to her. She came from a dysfunctional family. She moved in with these folks when she was 15 years old, and Gary impregnated her every year that she was there. And so she needs a full evaluation before I would even consider letting her off the hook. The hook is still around her neck. Because as a mother, you allowed your kids to live in such filth and in such condition. And 7 of the children were in such bad shape that they had to be airlifted to a hospital. And so the state appointed attorney said that Elizabeth, the first thing she did was ask about her children. I'm not impressed. I'm just not impressed. I get it. She asked for her kids. Okay. She needs a full evaluation, right? To find out. Let's give her a diagnosis. Here on my end and what I know and what I can see, what we know. Of course, the woman is depressed. She got 16 disabled children and living in filth. She's dealt with her own childhood trauma. I don't know the depths of that or what that looked like. And some of the kids, also, I like to say, were physically abused by all of them, the adults in the house. And so Elizabeth did have a family she could have, reached out to. The police, social work. A lot of things could have happened, didn't happen. And if there had not been an intervention, those kids would have died in that house. They would have just died there and continued to be abused. What her diagnosis would be, me as a mental health professional, some people want to, say, does she have some sort of personality disorder? I don't know. I thought about it before writing this, before filming this video. What if Elizabeth showed up in my office and I know what I know about her history and all of the things. Of course, major depression would be there. I need to know more. I can give a preliminary diagnosis based on what I know. Gary, the father, probably some level of autism for him, just somewhere in there, some sort of personality disorder. It's too soon. We gonna have to wait it out, see if we find out anything else. If you guys want to know more, comment down below. You want me to stay on this story, I will. follow up with it and see what more we can find out about this family. But thanks for listening. Thanks, everyone. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.